We'll get the translation devices in here ASAP. And again, for those of you now in the auditorium, we're actually getting into a deeply technical panel. So again, if you're a banker, lawyer, investor, this is where you want to be, especially if you've been having questions around whether you'd like to issue an orange bond or buy one or structure one. We'll be diving into strengthening legal and financial systems to enable orange financing. Again, and this session will be especially relevant for anyone in the room who's looking to engage in said instruments. And I'm happy to perhaps now first introduce your panels. We have Matthew Kasdin joining us from Singapore. He is IAX's General Counsel. He's joined by Miss Claire Neo, Counsel at Clifford Chance. He's also joined by Dr. Rio Christiawan, co-founder and CEO of Pagatan Usaha Makmur. We have also Mr. Rashed Hussain from BRAC EPL joining us from Bangladesh. We have from DEG, Mbak Alida Nur Sakinah, Investment Manager, and we also have from BRI, Danareksa Sekuritas, Bapak Edwin Sukri, Director and Head of Investment Banking. Now I have to let you know that Pak Edwin represents the underwriter for Indonesia's first orange bond. So let me know if you have questions directed for him as well. And I'll hand it over to you, Matthew.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matthew Kasdin, and thank you all for coming to this session. So I've had quite a liberal upbringing, and so actually this whole concept of orange takes me back more than 20 years ago when I was in Havana, Cuba for an International Women's Convention, which I actually did before I went to law school, surrounded by a lot of women from the Global South trying to make a better world. Is there, I think I'm getting like an echo. In any event, I pursued a law career, and I worked at a big law firm, Latham & Watkins. We have Clifford Chance here as well. And I worked for the UN, trying to put together systems to make the world a better place. Originally, that was the Global Compact, which led us to the SDGs, where we get the orange from today. And I moved out to Singapore after working on the Constitution of the Principles for Responsible Investment. Always, like Professor Shanaz was saying here, looking for frameworks to make the world a better place. You know, we did the Women's Livelihood Bond. I've been with IAX since the very beginning. Now we've hit upon the Orange Movement, and here today I actually feel somewhat kind of the culmination of my career. I'm still young, but it just seems like so much energy here today, how much progress we've made from trying to put sort of round pegs in square blocks to really moving forward with more momentum for the Global South. So I'm very delighted to be on this panel today. And we've got panelists from Singapore, Bangladesh, and Indonesia. Are we going to do this thing about questions? Okay. Before I begin this panel, we've got a QR code. So if you could put in the QR code what your biggest challenge facing you today is, we can, at the end of it, come to all the panelists and see if we can answer any of your questions. Please scan on the screen, and we can go from there. So my first question is for Claire. So Claire, actually, going back here, I think you're at Clifford Chance for 10 years. Even before that, I think 2011 was the date. We did one of our first impact deals with Clifford Chance, which is for a vocational training facility in the Philippines, in northern Philippines. And Clifford Chance was our pro bono counsel. So Clifford Chance has been with IAX for a very long time, almost since the very beginning. You've been working on the Women's Livelihood Bond for the last several offerings, I believe. Could you tell me about how your sustainable finance practice has evolved and where the Orange Bond fits in?
So I think since 2011, obviously the market has grown significantly. So back then, obviously deal sizes were a lot smaller. Documentation was a lot more bespoke, and investors were still really getting used to the idea of impact investing or orange bonds. So that obviously has changed. The market has grown significantly. I think Clifford Chance has now done quite a lot of IAX's women livelihood bond issuances. Our firm's practice has also evolved, and we now cover or advise on full spectrum of basic ESG products, ranging from your green and social bonds, orange bonds, sustainability-linked loans, bonds. And I think beyond just being product focused, what has also changed is that we now also advise clients on compliance with ESG regulations, disclosure rules, which is obviously now what we're seeing a lot more in the market. So I would say now then that our practice has really evolved from, just really supporting single bespoke transactions to, now really try to support a much broader and a much more mature ecosystem.
I see. Thank you very much for that, Claire. Now moving on to you, Rashed. Now, when I got involved in, when I moved to Asia originally, I was working in sustainable finance before it became impact investment. That's how long ago it was. And one of my first projects was in Bangladesh. When I went there, I was amazed to find out what BRAC and Gurmeen were doing as far as pioneering this. And for this forum, in this actual topic, BRAC was already pioneering this. Is it a nonprofit? Is it a for-profit? Is it something in between? So I feel like this is something where we definitely are the Global South, teaching the Global North about all these innovative financial structures. I actually once stayed at the BRAC Hotel many years ago with Mr. Crable, our investment director. Could you tell me sort of how BRAC EPL fits into the picture and your history and your investment philosophy and how you're doing sustainable investing?
Thank you. Well, basically, BRAC is a non-profit organization. It's been around for about 54 years. So over the years, it has basically branched out to different markets. So, for example, BRAC EPL is the part of BRAC that works in the capital markets of Bangladesh. And as with all of our entities that are under the BRAC family, our main purpose is to create interventions in the market that we operate in. So when BRAC EPL Investments Limited is actually working in the capital market, it's not just about business as usual as an investment bank. We're trying to make the width and the breadth of the market bigger. We're trying to introduce new products. For example, right now we're working on the first social bond in Bangladesh. And similarly, we did the first book building IPO. We did the first listed bond in Bangladesh. So it's always about pioneering new products through the BRAC umbrella. And this partnership that we are actually engaging on with IX right now, we're planning to bring the first orange bond in Bangladesh hopefully by next year. So that's how we're going to do it. And yeah, thank you so much. That's where we fit in, basically. We are working as an intervention in the capital market.
Yes, no, thank you very much for those comments and that kind of explanation of your structure. Now, Edwin, could you tell us about your financial institution and how you approach sustainable investing and sort of how you've gotten to the orange movement here today?
So I'm from BRAC Danareksa Sekuritas, which is one of the BRAC subsidiaries. We're actually PNM's sister companies. So yeah, I think the issuance of the thematic bond in Indonesia has gone quite a way since its first issuance in 2018. Back then there was a green bond, like SMIs, and to be honest, it wasn't very successfully received by investors in Indonesia back then. I think the market was not ready for it. I mean, people still wanted what it is, right? Even though we were one of the underwriters as well back then, so we know how hard it was to try to introduce this concept of sustainability bonds to investors. And there wasn't any issuance, any thematic bond issuance until I think the first one was 2022. And all of a sudden, there was a boom of thematic bond issuance, starting with BRI green bonds, and there was Mandiri and all this SMI was issuing again, IIF and everything. So all of a sudden, and OJK recognized as well on this importance of the thematic bonds, and they actually issued a specific regulation dealing to deal with this sustainability bonds, because, and just to level the what you call it, the standards, because before that I think there was quite a lot of interpretations. I mean, there was a regulation back in 2018, but it wasn't. I would say it wasn't the same standard as a global standard. And with the new issuance of a new regulation, we basically adopting our standards. It's the same as the global standards, for the domestic bonds. So now, you see every year there's a thematic bonds with the social bonds, sustainability bonds, and PNM with its first orange bonds and orange sukuk. And when we launched PNM orange bond, orange sukuk, we were surprised with the receptions from the investors. Investors, understand. We thought we had to explain, what the orange bond is, to investors, because it was the first issuance in Indonesia. So we were surprised that we could explain it quite well, not only to the investors but also to regulators what it is. The framework is quite clear, and it fits perfectly with the PNM program, with the Makmur program for the low-income women. And we as the underwriters, we will support. We are honored to be involved in transactions, and we will commit to support the issuance of the more thematic bonds, and especially orange bonds, and maybe going forward there will be blue bonds as well, and all other sustainable bonds.
Okay, great. Thank you. We look forward to hearing more about that later. So Alida, you're coming from a slightly different perspective, being from DG Development Bank. Can you tell us about how you approach development? What attracts you to the Orange movement?
Thank you, Matt. First, a quick intro of DEG. So DEG is a German development finance institution, a part of KfW banking group, which is fully owned by the German government. And for over 60 years, we have supported private sector growth in emerging markets. And of course, our mission as a DFI is to help businesses grow in a way that is sustainable and impactful. And Orange Movement is indeed one of the theme that is within sustainability and inclusion. And so what we offer for the businesses is long-term loans, equity investments, but not only that, we also accompany the financing with technical assistance. A grant program that covers the cost, 50% of the cost for any advisory services, but ultimately to enhance the ESG practices of those businesses. And this includes, for example, for financial institutions, we have a program, a TA program called Gender Smart Opportunity Assessment, so that these financial institutions will have the ability to cater better for women businesses. And I think also one of the example that we are very much in the Orange movement is that we invested in the first private sector gender bond back in 2019 in Asia Pacific. So would love to hear more about gender bonds being issued here in Indonesia.
Okay, great. I'm sure many members of our team would like to discuss that with you as well. Now moving to some more real on-the-ground reality, which is Dr. Rio. So you're the one sort of entrepreneur here, running a business in nature-based solutions, which I hear about all the time. So I'd love to hear your perspective on nature-based solutions. And we saw, at the front, the Indonesian carbon exchange. So I'd love to hear how that fits into your plans.
Izin Dr. Rio, Yasmin akan bantu menerjemahkan. Tentu kerja karyanya Dr. Rio di sini juga sangat terikat dengan nature-based solution yang terikat kembali dengan inklusi dari komunitas di last mile. How does nature-based solutions contribute back to the communities? This is the important work that Dr. Rio is doing as a legal expert across Indonesia. Jadi mungkin Bapak bisa memperjelaskan nature-based ini kan banyak demand-nya ya, tapi untuk market seperti Indonesia juga masih baru gitu. Jadi ada dua lanskap baru yang Bapak pioneering gitu. Pertama nature-based sendiri, kedua nature-based yang terhubung dengan livelihood komunitas. Jadi mungkin boleh share sedikit tentang journey tersebut, Bapak, barrier-nya apa, apakah ini well received gitu, dan mungkin ada apa yang bisa saya sampaikan ke para investor juga, Dokter.
Okay, thank you. Actually, our company Pagatan Usaha Makmur is using business model is reforestation. So our pillars is SDGs number 5 and SDGs number climate change. I guess 13 or something like that. So in reforestation business, we manage and we aim livelihood in the forest. So in this livelihood, we manage all women and giving good livelihood. So we create and we empowering women in this area. So jadi di dalam konsesi kami, in our concession, I deliver in both Indonesian and English ya. Jadi di dalam konsesi kami itu ada banyak perempuan yang harus kami berikan kehidupan karena we change from menebang ke menanam. Okay, so we encourage to planting. But mereka kan biasanya menebang. So untuk mengganti pendapatan dari menebang ke planting ini kan kita perlu mempersiapkan livelihood yang baik. Salah satunya dengan koperasi binaan. Di dalam konsesi kami ini ada banyak koperasi binaan yang anggotanya justru ibu-ibu yang tadinya tidak punya pekerjaan karena suaminya menebang. Nah, maka kami sekarang mengembangkan sekitar koperasi binaan kami itu sekitar 2.700 wanita di konsesi kami di Kalimantan Tengah. Itu terdiri dari rata-rata pendidikannya itu SMP ke bawah. So justru kami memberikan keterampilan berupa wira swasta, berdagang, menanam kopi dan seterusnya sehingga it's quick win for everybody. Di satu sisi tumbuhannya bertambah, mereka tidak protes lagi karena tidak boleh menebang, natural solution. Ada kehidupan yang berkepanjangan dan dari tidak memiliki pendapatan menjadi memiliki pendapatan. So our business is really comply to SDGs guidance. So more or less itu mungkin bisa ya silakan.
Oke, izin Pak, saya terjemahkan. So as we're focusing on planting instead of cutting, this creates also job and opportunities for women. We're working with 2,700 women. Most of them are not, their level of education at the most is grade 9, which is like junior high school. So the skill building capacity building that we provide is on entrepreneurship, processing coffee. So we're really creating jobs and creating opportunities and ensure sustainable economy and sustainable living.
Oh, fantastic. That's very inspirational. I'd love to come visit sometime.
Sorry, Matt, I'll just add to that context as well. Consider industrialization in Indonesia. I think Dr. Rio was trying to get at. You know, a lot of communities still benefit of that. And you have a lot of funds, you know, from abroad saying, all of these Indonesian women, you need to stop cutting trees. You're the reason all of these emissions are going up. But you're not incentivizing people to do alternative or regenerative agriculture. So what Dr. Rio is doing is he is directly incentivizing the women, instead of cutting trees, in which their livelihoods depend on these practices, he's teaching a lot of these women to plant trees. So creating alternative sources of livelihood. So it's not an issue where you go to a lot of these communities and you're like, why are you still cutting trees? Why are you using coal or something like that? But he's directly teaching them alternative practices that is tied to improved livelihood. So as he's exploring, green or nature-based solutions, it's tied to the women and communities' livelihoods as opposed to perhaps, just a high level compliance. So tying the two, and as he says, it creates empowerment for the women, but it's also great for the environment. And these are the two incentives that's important to tie.
Fantastic. Thank you for the elaboration. Rashed, coming back to you, Bangladesh is graduating from least developed country status, which means it's going to have to abide by stricter standards when accessing the international financial markets and sort of growing the capital investment into the country. How does BRAC EPL approach that with keeping with the social mission and then having the tighter financial requirements that you're going to have to abide by?
Right. Thank you. Yes, of course, Bangladesh's LDC graduation, which is due to take place next November, is actually an inflection point for the country. And BRAC EPL, what we're trying to do is, this is also the regulators in Bangladesh is also involved. They have kind of incorporated new amendments to our debt security rules, which kind of allows for thematic bonds to come up. And what we're doing with our normal issuers, which kind of goes with banks to microfinance institutions to NGOs, we are sitting with them as to how to bring in the 17 SDGs into the use of proceeds so that thematic nature of the bonds going forward can actually go forward. Another problem with the LDC that will happen is Bangladesh has always been, the social enterprises and the development programs have been grant-based, especially in the health, education, WASH, and climate resilience and adaptation sectors. So when we graduate from an LDC to a middle-income country, these grants are going to dry up. And basically we will need alternative source of funding, especially from the capital market-based funding, to kind of replicate or kind of replace the grants that we're in. We have seen a transition in the process because if we go back to the 90s, official development assistance grants were like over 5% of the GNI. This is already reduced to 1.4% of GNI. And with the abrupt pulling off out of USAID last year, a lot of grants from those projects also got taken out from this. So we are transitioning. It's a slow process, but we have to hurry up about it. And what BRAC EPL Investments Limited is trying to do is we're trying to sit with all these social enterprises for their development programs. We're sitting with other issuers. We're sitting with banks who kind of loan to these underserved sectors. And we're kind of coming up with alternative sources so that when the transition actually happens, we can level up and kind of issue international standard bonds so that we can also bring in impact investors from global markets.
Okay, fantastic. Well, with people like you, I think Bangladesh should be a good hand. It's been very nice getting to know you. Claire, you flew in from Singapore here at the Indonesian Stock Exchange. For me, also being based in Singapore, it's quite inspirational, the Indonesian Carbon Exchange, all the momentum, all the excitement. Could you tell me maybe about sort of how the capital markets are going to be evolving in the future and the inspirations you're taking with you today and maybe could inform your practice in Singapore?
I think what will really shape, from a legal perspective, this market would really be the regulations that come up to increase credibility and transparency, especially in terms of reporting and just the general ecosystem. So, for example, we are seeing regulators taking a more, more proactive stance in terms of ensuring that there is reporting, greater transparency reporting. So Singapore, for example, is moving towards mandatory or transitioning towards mandatory climate reporting for its both listed companies as well as non-listed companies, which I think is something different from many other countries which will only impose such mandatory reporting requirements for listed companies. We are also seeing, and I think what's also important is that the reporting here is also in line with the ISSB standards, so it's not just just Singapore local standards. So we are also seeing similar proposals being implemented in APEC itself, like what we have in Japan, Australia, and Hong Kong. So I think this is what will really drive the market in the next coming years. And having increased regulatory scrutiny, I think, is especially meaningful because it should more meaningfully than address greenwashing risk and increase investors' confidence generally in this market. The second point I think that will also drive the market is now having a more shared language as to what really constitutes green, what constitutes transition activity. And this is what, again, I see regulators in this region now coming to be a bit more coordinated in this kind of language. For example, in ASEAN, we have the ASEAN taxonomy for sustainable finance. And then now at the regional, at a more national level, you have the Southeast Asian countries like Singapore, Malaysia, all coming out with their own kind of taxonomy. So again, having this kind of shared language kind of reduces the uncertainty of what constitutes green transition, and it also makes, I think, professionals a little easier to structure credible, sustainable finance products, and it makes it easier as well to sell to investors. So again, just really making deal execution, a lot simpler and easily understandable just for the entire market.
I see. Good to hear the shout out for the Southeast Asia taxonomy, because I know people that worked on that. A lot of people haven't heard of it, so we need to spread awareness of that. And I did see the new greenwashing regulations coming in Singapore. So thank you for that contribution. Edwin, coming back to you, I think before, I know P&M was kind of your sister entity, so you weren't directly related in all the Orange offerings you had before. Looking forward, do you see Orange getting more integrated into your offerings? And how would you do so, and what other sort of developments do you see coming in the Indonesian market at BRI?
Yeah, well, for sure there will be more of a P&M offering because, as you know, they have shelf-registered bonds, which actually they have issued 2 tranches. And I think over the next 2 years, they will be issuing more and more Orange bond and Sukuk. And other than P&M, I think we need to educate more issuers about Orange bonds, especially if it actually fit with their business model. Maybe sometimes it doesn't cross their mind that the concept of Orange framework actually compatible with their businesses, but I think that's where the underwriter's role comes in to educate them. Obviously we are meeting with potential issuers to pitching deals, and we could, since we understand their business models, we could suggest what, instead of issuing conventional bonds, why don't you issue like Orange bonds or maybe other thematic bonds. Obviously green bonds is easy to understand, but I think Orange bonds are something new. And since we have such a success with P&M, not only once but twice, because we already issued 2 tranches of P&M Orange bonds and so forth. It's a good case study that we can show them, and what it provides them. Sometimes like issuer just think about the cost. Obviously, there will be additional cost of issuing thematic bonds because you need to have additional reportings, but there is also the additional benefits. Like it's when you issue thematic bonds, investors are more willing to subscribe. I mean, you can see in the last month of P&M issuance, we experienced over 9 times oversubscriptions. I mean, that's tremendous. I think I don't remember seeing a bond with that much of oversubscriptions. It's amazing, and with that much of oversubscriptions, basically issuers have their say of pushing the interest, the coupon rate as optimal as possible. And obviously we will play our roles in promoting Orange bonds and Sukuk and other thematic ones to potential issuers.
Okay, let me have a quick follow-up there, because I think one of the points about this forum is the South-to-South learning. Given the fact that P&M has been such a pioneer in BRI in this area, are you seeing any opportunities, or has anybody been contacting you to learn what the P&M do, what BRI do to get these Orange bonds off? And what can other markets such as Bangladesh, Singapore, the whole global South do to replicate what you've done?
Not yet.
Well, hopefully.
Hopefully after this event.
After this.
Well, if you're watching online, you know who to call, Edwin, BRI. Now, Alida, moving on to you, and DG. You've already won my heart with your commitment for how much you're going to be investing in gender bonds in Indonesia. Could you maybe tell us a little bit more about your plans? Are there any real sectors you see as real growth sectors in Indonesia? Like where would you see that money getting allocated sectorally? Because we know it's going to go towards women, which is great.
So
as I previously mentioned, gender is a cross-cutting theme in our investment. So I would just like to introduce our internal category of customer clusters. So we invest in financial institutions. So this could be banking or non-banking. For example, we invest in banks, multi-finance, insurance companies, and as I said before, we have this special gender theme TA for them to expand to the untapped market of female businesses. Because sometimes they would need like different type of products, different type of services, and that is one, financial institutions. And the second one would be corporates. So this could be across manufacturing or services. So this one we could also actually invest in private equity and venture capital funds, and we can do direct investments, co-investment with these funds. And of course, we can also deploy our technical assistance to the investees, so to each of the companies, and gender is definitely on the table for them. And the third one would be infrastructure and renewable energy. And so I also would like to mention that across all of our investments, we do a thorough environmental and social due diligence. And so we would identify the gaps in environmental and social aspects according to international standards such as IFC performance standards. So we would look at things like biodiversity, gender is definitely one of them, like safety, labor practices, etc. And I think so far our investment have shown that our commitment to contribution to SDG, especially gender, has been progressively quite successful. So as of now, we measure our impact every year, and in 2024, we found out that our portfolio companies, nearly half of them had female managers, more than the average industry, which I think is a quite high standard. Of course, we still have more way to go, but with our TA, we will definitely push for more of our clients to reach this gender equality in their workforce and also in their market.
Great, thank you so much. Now, turning back to you, Dr. Rio, and notice you're not wearing everything, so hopefully you can understand. But no, okay, so at the beginning, Yasmin said we might be having some technical content, so I've left that for you because I do notice we have some people interested in this topic, but we do have the Indonesian Carbon Exchange, which is right here in this building. Could you tell us how that fits into your business model, which you talked about the real people-centered part of it, but I'm wondering how this environmental, this carbon market would fit with the gender model.
Okay, thank you. So, carbon business itu terdiri dari 3 komponen penting. It's called CCP, Community, Climate, and Biodiversity. So, our carbon credit, actually, carbon business is different with the, for example, palm oil business. Itu tidak bergantung pada luasannya, tetapi bergantung pada kinerja CCP-nya, Community, Carbon, and Biodiversity. Jadi perempuan menjadi bagian yang sangat, pemberdayaan perempuan menjadi bagian yang sangat penting untuk meningkatkan kredit karbon pada bagian C-nya, community-nya. Jadi pengembangan atau pemberdayaan perempuan dengan tolak ukur dari menjadi, itu menjadi kredit yang sangat penting untuk memproduce VCU, Verified Carbon Unit. So, itulah kenapa kita, dan juga pembentukan good livelihood di surrounded concession. Jadi pembentukan kelompok-kelompok binaan itu menjadi sangat penting. That's why saya bilang ini circular economy dan ini quick win for everybody. Company diuntungkan dengan VCU, mendapat kredit VCU, kemudian masyarakat diuntungkan dengan mendapat good livelihood, pemerintah diuntungkan dengan mendapat pemasukan dari sektor pajak dan transaksi karbon. Secara spesifik untuk pemberdayaan perempuan, ini menjadi hal yang penting karena kami justru meningkatkan pendapatan per kapita di Kalimantan Tengah. Dari yang tadinya yang bekerja atau sektor yang bekerja hanya ayahnya atau lelaki, kini perempuan juga bisa bekerja. Gitu. Biasanya misalnya pekerjaan yang pairing itu misalnya suaminya sebagai sebagai ranger begitu, lalu istrinya bekerja di koperasi begitu, atau istrinya menanam kopi, suaminya sebagai ranger. Barangkali untuk lebih sempurnanya bisa di translate. Thank you.
Terima kasih Dr. Rios. He also wants to point out that carbon markets, it's very different from how you navigate, for example, the palm oil industry. In the carbon market, there's the 3 CCP. What was it again, Mario? It's
CCP.
Yes, carbon, community
conservation, and biodiversity.
There
So
you go.
for women part is the community one.
Yeah.
One of the pillar.
Yeah. And so when you drive women's economic empowerment based on the CCP principles, it actually directly aligns with net zero goals. So for a context like Indonesia, when you empower women, that really strengthens the first C aspect of community, biodiversity, and carbon, right? And that could also translate to, for example, traditionally many homes in Indonesia would only have the husband or the man working. Women's economic empowerment, when the carbon market enables more women to be part of economic markets, but as such, when women are more part of economic markets, it actually contributes to the carbon being reduced, is what he's seeing as well.
I see. Oh, a win-win solution.
Quick win solution.
Quick win.
So do we have any questions from the audience, or should we go into our final commitments?
Yes, so actually we are almost at time, but I want to say that the one thing that everyone answered for this, or the biggest, was questions around due diligence, especially if, let's say, there's DFIs or investors who really want to invest, in the smaller enterprises who they see as more impactful. How do you bridge the fact that there's all of these due diligence requirements that might not fit with the size of the enterprise? I don't know if that's something you want to consult people on off stage as well. But yeah, I think we'll have maybe 2 minutes.
We can talk about that. We can talk about that offline. I mean, I think there's a lot of technological solutions definitely making due diligence a lot easier. And frankly, the carbon market, if we're talking about that, there's been a lot of fraud in the past, but with a lot of these satellite imagery and things like that, you can actually monitor projects a lot better, a lot easier, a lot more cost effective with the technology. So I think depending on what market you're in, technology could be a solution to making the DD process easier for validating it going forward. All right, well, great. You've been a great panel. Now, what we wanted to do at the end of this, especially since we're the last panel of the day, is leave everyone on a really positive and optimistic note, which is with making a commitment for what you are going to do to advance the Orange movement going forward. Let's go down the line. Maybe we start with you, Claire.
I think that's a simple one. So we've been IX's trusted partner since like 2011. So I think the commitment is that we will continue to remain enthusiastic and to be the trusted partner on any new innovative complex products. So we will be the one there for you.
Thank
See
you
our
so much for
MD
that.
smiling very big here, so that's good news.
For us, Danareksa, obviously, as an underwriter, like I said, we will commit to keep being an underwriter of PNM, Orange, Bond, and Sukri. And not only that, we will promote Orange concept, Orange framework to other issuers and educate them that it's not a hassle, it's not additional cost to issuing bond. There are benefits of issuing this instead of just a it's more like, it fits perfectly with their businesses. Like in Pagatan's case, it would fit perfectly with their business model.
Well, I'm a dreamer, so I'm give a lot of commitments. So in the interest of time, I'm going to keep it short here. But yes, okay, I will help build the impact investment ecosystem in Bangladesh. I will channel funds into climate resilient projects and underserved communities, especially for women and children. And I will help issuers bring in international standard impact instruments, orange instruments, that are globally acceptable and up to global standards. And this is for this set. The next set I will disclose in Orange Forum 2026. So this is for 2025. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to be checking in on that commitment in Dhaka next year.
Okay, so from DG side, DG actually has been active in Indonesia for over 50 years now. So you could expect us to stay committed to support any private financial institutions and also corporates striving for more inclusive growth.
Fantastic. And last but not least, Dr. Rio.
Okay. With Pagatan Usaha Makmur senantiasa berkomitmen untuk mengembangkan komunitas di Indonesia, khususnya perempuan, dan bersama Orange Movement dan Orange Bond tentu akan dapat membuat perempuan di Indonesia, khususnya di remote area, akan lebih berkembang. Thank you.
It continues to commit, yes, for the especially rural women of Indonesia, right? Wonderful. Join me in a round of applause for our fantastic panel. Thank you so much. I do have to let you go so that you have some caffeine break before the closing plenary. But in case you have not registered for our networking reception yet, you can do so here. We'd love to continue our conversations, especially with Matthew Kasdin, over wonderful cocktails or mocktails. And he could give very, very sound legal advice even then. So thank you so much for joining us. I will now invite you to a coffee break. And we will convene in the main hall all together for the closing plenary of Orange Forum 2025. Thank you so much, everyone.